ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸਚ। ਗੋਬਿੰਦੇ ਮੁਕੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਰੇ ਅਪਾਰੇ ਹਰਿਯੰ ਕਰਿਯੰ ਨਿਰਨਾਮੇ ਅਕਾਮੇ। ਗੋਬਿੰਦੇ ਮੁਕੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਰੇ ਅਪਾਰੇ ਹਰਿਯੰ ਕਰਿਯੰ ਨਿਰਨਾਮੇ ਅਕਾਮੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, today we are going to start the Granth Bhavarsamrit from Savaiya 26. So Pandit Gulab Singh Ji, he starts off by saying, Jo jan sevat paad bali jan prit paye pikhiye jag mahi. Jo jan sevat paad bali. That I've seen in this world that the great kings who had many bali, many strong, powerful people serving their feet, Jan prit paye pikhiye jag mahi. That in this jug, in this world, I have seen that they have become servants. The example that has been given here is that of Pandavas in Mahabharata. When the Pandavas lost to the Kauravas, the Pandavas the Kauravas then punished them to go and live in the jungles for 12 years. And after those 12 years, for another 1 year, they had to go and become servants and serve the king Virat. So Panditji is saying that even those people who were so strong that because of their previous karmas, that I've even seen in this world that even they have become servants. Te jan pun prabhav ko paye, so poop paye pavamandal mahi. Now that once they've become the servants, but then once again, when their good karma comes back, so those people, when they get influenced by the good karma, the merit that they've done in their previous lives or previously in this life, so poop paye pavamandal mahi. Pavamandal meaning this world, this earth, that this earth that I've seen that they've become poop, meaning kings again. So now, even though the Pandavas had lost to Kauravas in Mahabharata, but then again, when they came back after those 13 years and there was that great battle of Mahabharata that took place, then those Pandavas again beat the Kauravas and then they became kings again. Punna gaye nar peek gahe. But once what happens is when your good karma departs, when it's finished up, it's used, nar peek gahe. That those people, the same people who were kings, they become beggars again. That they start begging. Arpichak poop paye pavamahi. And then the beggars become kings in this world. Aur phale nahko jag mein. That there's nothing else in this world that gives us fruit, that gives us merit, or that gives us peace and happiness. Krit pun phale dram jyo ritmahi. In the English translation, there's a word missing here, rit, which means the season. that in this world, nothing else brings us merit, nothing else brings us happiness, but the good karma that we do, and that it blossoms forth in our life, just as the trees blossom forth in the season of spring. A really good story that I heard about this, that I would love to share here, is that of the Karm Devta and Lakshmi Devi. Karm Devta meaning the god of karma, and Lakshmi Devi, which is the goddess of wealth. So they were both having a discussion one day about who is stronger. So Karam Devta was saying that it is only because of me, it is only because of the karma that people do, that they receive whatever fruit that they're going to receive. And the goddess of wealth was saying that no, I can give them whatever I want whenever I want. So they both decided to sort of see what they can do. There was this poor person, a very poor person, who used to go to the jungles and cut wood and sell that wood to make a living. So the goddess of wealth, what she did was she got a bag of gold coins and she threw it in front of him. So when that poor person, when he saw that bag of gold coins, he got really happy. He took it and then he goes home and he sees that his wife is not there, because he was going to give it to his wife so she could place it somewhere safe. But because she wasn't there, he takes that bag of gold coins and he just sort of throws it somewhere in the room. And when he throws it, it makes a really loud sound. And what happens is his neighbors hear that sound. And when they hear it, they start wondering what that was. So when he wasn't there, the neighbors come in and then they see that bag of gold coins and then they steal it. Now, what they're saying here is that because the bag of gold coins wasn't actually in his karma, it wasn't given to him by the good karma, it was given to him by wealth. That's why it wasn't actually his. So it got stolen. So then Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of wealth, decides to try again. The second day, when he's out and about working, he finds a sort of like a jewel, a red ruby, I guess. And when he sees it, he gets really happy and he decides to put it in his pocket so that he could save it so he wouldn't lose it. So that day when he's working and he gets really thirsty, he goes to the river and he starts drinking. He bends down and he starts drinking water. And when he bends down, that ruby, it falls out of his pocket and into the river. And when it falls into the river, there was a fish there that ate that ruby. So now that makes him sad, but because it wasn't his karma, he didn't receive it. So now the goddess of wealth decides to give it one last go to see if she could be stronger than the karma. So the third day, the goddess of wealth produces a necklace, a jeweled necklace, and she throws it in front of that poor person. And he grabs it and he becomes really happy again. And he says, today I'm going to take really good care of it. And I'm not going to lose it. So what that man does is he takes that necklace, the jeweled necklace, and he puts it in his turban. But he's working the whole day. And then in the afternoon, when he gets tired, he decides to take a nap. And to take a nap, he takes off his turban and he puts it aside. Now, because he was in the jungles, there was, I don't know what that bird is called in English, but there was a bird there. And when that bird sees something shiny, he comes and grabs it. He comes and grabs the turban as well as the necklace. So now in the end, what's shown here is that because all of that, it wasn't actually in his karma, whatever Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of wealth, whatever she gave him, It couldn't stick. So then the goddess of wealth comes back to Karma Devta, the god of karma, and she says, so tell me what was actually in his wealth that he could get. So Karam Devta says that all that was in his wealth was just one coin. So then what happens is that man, when he chops that wood, and then he goes to the market and he sells it, he receives one coin. And with that one coin, he decides to buy himself and his wife a fish to eat that night. So he goes to the market, gets a fish, comes back home, and to cook that, he realizes he needs some wood. So he goes back to the jungle to get some wood. Now, when he's chopping the wood, he sees on top of the tree, he finds a nest of a bird. And in that nest, he sees his turban and then the shiny necklace that he'd actually got. And he receives that back. So when he comes back with the necklace and the wood, he now uses that wood to burn and cook the fish that they had gotten. Now, when they cook the fish and they cut it open, they find that red ruby that he received from the goddess of wealth. Now that they've gotten both the ruby and also the necklace, his wife screams really loudly out of happiness. And now what happens is, because of the scream, when the neighbors hear it, they start getting really worried, and they think that maybe they found out that we've stolen the bag of gold coins. So when they weren't around, they come back and then they put that bag of gold coins back in their house as well. So now in this man's karma, there was only that one coin, but because of that one coin, everything else came back as well. So that's exactly what Panditji is trying to tell here as well, that nothing else in this world is going to bring you peace and happiness or whatever else that you desire, but it is only your good merits that will bring you anything. In the next Savaya, Panditji goes on to say, Des phale na bides phale, kach purab uttar mo phal nahi. That we can think in this world that we can either work in our own country, Des is where a country where you usually live, or Bides is a foreign country. That we can think that we can live in this country or that country, or we can go work in Australia or Canada or America, and then maybe we'll make more money, maybe we'll be happier. Panditji is saying that nothing of that brings you peace or brings you happiness. Kach purab uttar mo phal nahi. That whether you can, any direction in the world that you can go to, Purab is east and Uttar is north, that you can go to these directions and it won't obtain any merit for you. Dakhan pacham mahe nahi phal. There is no merit whether you go to Dakhan, which is south, or Pacham, which is west. Nahe ahe sarta tat mahi. That there is no merit even if you go to the riverbanks. So people think that maybe if we start and go down the riverbanks, maybe we'll obtain something. Maybe we'll have an easier life. But no, Panditji is saying there's nothing of that sort. Baithan nahe phale jag mein, ar nahe phale ratno jag mahi. That in this world there's no merit if you decide to just sit down in one place. That people can think we can settle down and maybe then we'll be happier. Or ar nahe phale ratno jag mahi. Or people think, oh, I'm going to wander this whole planet, or I'm going to go traveling and then I'll be happier. But Panditji is saying there's no merit, there's no happiness in that either. Aur phale nahe ko jag mein krit pun phale dram jyo rut mahi. That there's nothing else in this world that will bring us happiness, that will bring us any merit, but the good karma that we've done, and that is what blossoms forth like trees in spring. Panditji then says, बालक नाहे phale jag mein, ar joban mahe kachu phal nahi. That sometimes we can think then when we were balak, meaning when we were little, when we were children, that was a good time, or that growing up we think, oh, when I was a child, that I was actually happy then, or I wish I could go back to being that. Panditji saying that within the child state, that there is no merit there either. That we're not, it's not necessarily that we are happy when we're children. Ar joban mahe kachu phal nahi. Or even when we are in joban meaning when you're youthful, that there's no merit there either. Jarat nahe phale jag mein. Jarat meaning old age. That there's not really any merit in old age as well. People think, like maybe myself, I would think, oh, right now I have to work hard, I can't really be happy, but when I'm old, when I retire, maybe I'll be happier then. Panditji saying there's no happiness there either, because then there's going to be other sorrows, other pains that are going to be associated with that age as well. Ar bandhav nahe phale jag mahi. Or if you think that bandhav meaning your relatives, that your relatives could bring you any merit or any happiness, that's not true either. Just like in Mahabharat, the Kauravas and Pandavas, they were actually cousins, but it's not like they obtained any happiness of each other. Meet phale nahe neet phale. That there's no merit from your meet, which is your mittar, meaning your friends. Nahe neet phale. Neet meaning Rajniti, which is politics. If you think that you know how to be diplomatic, how to be political, that maybe you could win over the world and be happy, that's not true either. Kul reet phale pav main kaho kahi. Panditji saying, now tell me, then how can your family traditions bring you any happiness? That they can't bring you any happiness either. Aur phale nahi ko jag mein. There's nothing else in this world that brings you any merit. Krit punna phale. That it is only the good karma that you've done that that blossoms forth, just like the trees blossom forth in the season of spring. Nahe phale jag mahe nises. That in this world, it is neither the king of night, nises meaning nis meaning night, es meaning Ishwar, which is God. That it is neither the Ishwar, neither the god of night, which is moon. That it is neither, if you start worshipping moon, it's not like that he can bring you any happiness, that he can bring you any merit. Dines phale jag mein kaho kahi. Dines meaning din meaning day, and esh meaning Ishwar again, which is the god of sun, that he can't bring you any happiness either. पुण्य बिना फल काहे कहाँ आहे कहाँ. Bid lok so poom rasatal mahi. That without committing pun, which is good karma, without actually doing things like giving to other people, giving in charities, doing good karma, Panditji saying, tell me where else is peace, where else is happiness, where else is any fruit that you can obtain without actually committing good karma. Bid lok so poom rasatal mahi. Even if you were to look in Bidlok, which is the realm of Brahmaji, or Poom, which is this earth here, or Rasatal, which is the realms that are underneath, that wherever you look, the three realms that you could look in, there is no merit there except earning good karma. Nahe sures phale jag mein. That it is neither the worship of Sur-Es, which is Indra Devta, the god of the deities, that it is neither his worship that will bring you anything. So Mahesh Phale Jag mein kaho kahi. Or it is neither the worship of Mahesh, which is Shivji, it is neither his worship that can bring you anything. Now there's two really interesting stories here, the Sakhiyan. The first one goes, there was a family. There was a mother and a father and their son. And they were all really poor. So what they decide to start worshipping Shivji Maharaj to see if they could get any wealth into the family. So when they've been worshipping him, when they've been praying to him for a while, Shivji Maharaj, he gets really happy first of all with the bhakti of the lady, the wife in the family. So he comes to that woman and he asks her, what is it that you want from me? And even though the original motive was that they needed wealth for the family, but because of that woman, that wife, she had gotten old. And in that time when Shivji Maharaj asked her what she wanted, she said, I'm really old now, so I want to be beautiful again. So Shivji Maharaj makes her beautiful. And because now she was so beautiful, this one day there was a king who was passing by and he sees her and he asks her to come with him and marry him. So she goes off with the king. Now the husband, looking at this, was really upset, but he continues doing his bhakti. So now Shivji Maharaj comes back again and he's happy with the bhakti of that man. And he asks him, what do you want from me? And that man, now originally he wanted wealth, but because now he's so hurt by what his wife has done, he says, I want you to turn my wife into a pig. So now Shivji Maharaj, he turns his wife into a pig. And now at this time, that woman, she was actually on a horse with the king and they were traveling somewhere. And when the king turns back and he sees that in front of this woman, there's now actually a pig sitting at the back of his horse, he throws her off. So now that pig actually, the mother, it comes back to its home, to her son, still in the form of a pig. And now Shivji Maharaj, their son is still continuing doing bhakti. So Shivji Maharaj, he gets happy with his bhakti and comes back and says, what do you want from me? And then the son says that Maharaj, even though originally we wanted wealth, but now my mother has turned into a pig. So can you please turn her back into a woman? So then Shivji Maharaj gives him that boon that your mother will turn into a woman again. So now the moral of the story is that even though they've done all this bhakti to get wealth, but because it wasn't in their karma, they actually couldn't receive anything. And in the end, they were just back where they started. And now the second Sakhi goes that there was a child who didn't have any hands or legs. He had, I'm not sure what the word for this is, but he had like sort of like half cut arms. And he was found I could be slightly wrong about this Sakhi, but I hope you can just take away the moral of the story. So he was found in a jungle by a rishi or a pandit. And now the pandit brings him back home. And the pandit, he used to do katha like I'm doing right here. And he would teach the meanings of certain granths to Sangat. And now this one day, because now this kid, he grew up with that pandit and he used to consider him to be his father, and he learned a lot just listening to the katha like this every day. So now this one day, this pandit was doing the meanings. He was doing a katha like this, where he did meanings of a pankti, and then the kid goes to the pandit. He says, dear father, I think you've done the meanings of this line wrong. That this line actually says that whatever you receive from God. You don't receive it from anybody else. But the Pandit, he hears it and he gets really upset that how dare you speak in front of me, in front of all these people. So he decides to teach him a lesson. He says that no, it's not God, it is me who's giving you everything. I'm the one who, you don't even have hands, I'm the one who feeds you everything. And then the kid goes, no father, it is God himself that gives me everything. So the Pandit, what he does is he takes his son, that child, and he takes him to a jungle, but it wasn't even a normal jungle. It was a barren land, basically, so that he couldn't receive anything. He couldn't receive fruits or anything from the trees. There was nothing there in that jungle. And he leaves him there alone. But because that son, he had good karma with him, what would happen is there would be birds flying past the jungle, and they would gather fruits and stuff from other places, and then they would come and drop it where the kid was. So he would sort of, because he had half arms, he would pick them up and he would eat them, and that's how he survived. But then this whole time he continued doing bhakti there because he believed in Paramatma, he believed in Vaheguru. So now slowly when he kept doing bhakti, all the devte, all the deities, they got really impressed with his bhakti, and they all start coming and looking at this child. So now when one of the deities, they go and inform Brahmaji and Indra Devtaji and everyone else that there's this kid there who's doing all this bhakti, and he's just sitting there and he's surviving on whatever he's getting, they all get really impressed. So first of all, Indra Devtaji come. They come and see this kid, and they ask him, they said, I'm really happy with your bhakti. Tell me what you want and I'll give it to you. And now this child, because he had so much faith in Paramatma, he says, Indra Devtaji, whatever it is that you're going to give me, or whatever it is that I ask of you, are you going to give it to me from your own bank, or are you going to give it to me from my own karma? Because of whatever good karma I've done, and I'm supposed to receive that, are you going to give it to me out of my own bank? And Indra Devtaji said, I can only really give you whatever pun, whatever good merits that you've accumulated already, I can only give it out of that. So the kid says that if you're going to give it to me out of my own karma, then I'm going to receive it anyway. So it doesn't matter if I ask you or not, I will receive it. So he doesn't ask Indra Devta anything. And Indra Devta gets really impressed again. But then he goes to Brahmaji and he tells Brahmaji that there's this kid there, and I asked him if he wanted anything and he wouldn't ask for anything. And then Brahmaji decides to come himself. And then Brahmaji comes and asks him the same thing, that do you want anything, and I'll give you whatever you want. And then the kid asks the same question, that are you going to give it to me from your own bank, or are you going to give it to me from the bank of my own good karma? And the answer was that it was going to come out of his good karma. And the kid refuses again, that Paramatma will give me whatever he wants because I'm going to receive it anyway. And then I believe there was another devta who came as well. Maybe I don't remember the name. But then there was these three devta who came and they asked the kid the same question, and the kid refused. And now because they refused, but they were very impressed with this bhakti, all three devta decided to take out from their own karma and take a gift and give it to their child, because of how strong his faith and his bhakti were. So basically in this Pankti, Pandaji is telling us that except for worshipping Paramatma, worshipping Vaheguru, and earning good karma, whether we worship, whoever we can worship, whatever we can do, nothing can bring us any fruit. Or phale nahko jag mein. There's nothing else that's going to give us fruit. Krit punna phale dram jo rut mahi. and they're going to blossom forth just like a tree would blossom forth in the season of spring. ਇੱਕ ਦੇਵ ਹੈ ਬੰਦਤ ਹੋਂ ਭਵ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਉ ਚਾਤੁਰ ਤੇ ਖਲ ਸੇਵ ਕਹਾਏ. Over here, Kaviji starts talking about the Agad Gati of Paramatma. Now, Agad Gati means just the ways of how Paramatma works and the way of how good karma works, or how karma works, not good, but good and bad, everything. And just how Agad meaning unfathomable they are. Agad meaning something that's so deep that you can never know the start or the end or the deepness of that. Pandaji says, Ik dev hai bandat ho pav mein, that there's only one Paramatma, there's only one Vaheguru that I do namaskar to, that I pay my salutations toward in this world. Jyo chatur te khal sev kahai. That it is only him that can cause intelligent people to serve the foolish people. Now, the way that Kaviji has, Panditji has used the words here, he's used both the Paramatma and and the word sort of like a karma interchangeably. And maybe we'll come across that later on. So when he says Jo chatur te khal sev kahai, that it is because of how Paramatma has made the game of this whole karma, that it is because of that there can be circumstances where the foolish will the somebody clever would serve somebody so foolish. Jag pichak ko khin ek paye, meh mandal raj ko sukh pugaye. That within this creation, God himself, Paramatma, is able to make a beggar into the king of the world. And in one instance, kin ek pai, in 1 second, in this Mehamandal, meaning the world, that in this world he can give him all the bliss, all the happiness which he would receive by being the ruler of this whole earth. Mehamandal ke pat ko khin mein. That if there was Pat meaning Pati, which just means king of Mehamandal, which is earth, that in one instant, what God can do is, or what the game of this whole karma can do is, dar mahe so peekh mangai. He could make the circumstances such that the king of the whole earth will have to go and beg from door to door. Pav mahe agad gati tin ki. That in this world, the ways of Paramatma, the ways of karma is so agad, meaning is so deep, it is so unfathomable. Sab har pare gat koi na paye. That everyone who's tried to understand this, who's tried to fathom it, they've lost in the end, but they haven't been able to comprehend how Paramatma or the game of his karma work. Next Swaya. Jag biran ke kar tir hare. That within this world, God is the one who causes the bows and arrows to fall from the hands of great warriors. That he can make the game such that even if somebody was a great warrior, circumstances could be such that even the arrows from his the arrows from his hands could be snatched. Now there goes this story of Arjun. Now it goes that within the age of Dwapar, when Bhagwan Shri Krishna ji When he witnessed that his end was approaching, he called for Arjun to come and see him. He informed him that he was going to leave this world, and in order to eradicate the sorrows of the gopis, he should take them from Dwarka to Hastinapur. When Bhagavan Shri Krishna ji left this world, then Arjun transported the gopis from Dwarka to Hastinapur. And while they were en route, they came across this land of Pila. Pila was a lower caste. And there was a man named Eklavya, who challenged Arjuna. He said, "Oh Arjun, you are the one who did not allow me to learn the art of weapons from my guru Dronacharya. You had removed me from the hermitage, and due to you, my guru Dronacharya took my left thumb as an offering." So now the story with this goes that Eklavya, he really wanted to learn the art of archery. And Dronacharya at that time, he was the best teacher to teach anybody the art. But because Eklavya was from a lower caste, he didn't have the right to go and learn from Dronacharya. So what Eklavya would do is, he would learn from Dronacharya. He would sort of hide and witness Dronacharya teaching his other disciples. And Eklavya, he took Dronacharya as his guru without Dronacharya even knowing. And he sort of made a sculpture of him. And he would bow down to him thinking, yes, you are my guru, even though Dronacharya hadn't formally acknowledged him to be his disciple because of his low caste. And now when this happened and Dronacharya found out that Eklavya had been learning from him all along by deceiving him, Dronacharya asked for Guru Shishya, Guru Diksha, which is sort of an offering that you would make to your guru. Anybody that you learn from, you're supposed to serve them with your either your tan, your man, or your tan, meaning either by doing service of them with your body, or with the money, or with your own mind, by being fully dedicated to them. So now when Dronacharya asked for an offering, he asked for Eklavya to offer his left thumb as an offering, because that would mean that he would never be able to practice archery again. But because Eklavya was so strong and he was such an expert at archery, he could still use his weapons. Anyway, so when he challenged Arjuna, he said, "I will avenge all of these today. Even though my thumb has been cut off, you still have both your thumbs, and I'm prepared to fight you within the battle." It was then that a great battle occurred between Arjun and Eklavya. Whilst shooting all of his arrows, Arjun ran out of arrows and only had one remaining. It was then that Arjun accepted his defeat, and Eklavya, even though he was from Pila caste, which was a lower caste, he surrounded all the gopis and he took them as prisoners. And the gopis, because they witnessed that that dignity was about to be taken, they committed suicide there. And then wherever the blood of the gopis fell onto the dirt, in turn, that land was then named Gopi Chandan, which means the sandalwood of the gopis. So now Panditji is saying that even though Arjuna, he was so powerful and he was able to kill many with the aim of his arrows, but time provided him with such a challenge that the great warrior tasted defeat in Pila. Now Panditji is saying that thus is the game of karma. So powerful is Paramatma himself, who's created this game, that he can take such a great warrior like Arjun and he can basically defeat them in an instant. Ar tiran ke aur tar chudai. Tiran meaning tiraj, meaning somebody who has contentment within them, that Paramatma can make such a game occur that even people who have great contentment in their hearts, that they can even lose that contentment. And the example that's given here is when Sri Ramchandra ji, they left for his exile, his father Dashrath, he could not keep his content due to the separation from his son, and he died. And Vashishta Muni ji, who was the guru, or who was the guru who gave Brahma Vidya to Sri Ramchandra ji Maharaj, he had 100 sons who during their penance were killed one after the other by Vishwamitra. It was then that Vishwamitra gave up his, I believe the wording here is wrong. It was that Vashishta Muni who had lost his sons then to Vishwamitra. Vashishta Muni ji, he gave up his contentment and he tried to commit suicide by throwing himself within the river Beas. Then he tried to kill himself within the river Satluj. But then the river, it turned into 100 streams so that he wasn't able to kill himself. And then he went to the mountains close to Shri Keshgarh Sahib ji, where he hit his head on the rocks to kill himself. So Panditji is saying that even in this manner, there have been great munis, there have been great people who had so much contentment, who had so much content in their heart that they such circumstances because of the karma that they committed, they arose that they had lost everything. खल कातर को महमंडल में जन कोविद बीरन बीर कहाय. That God within this world can transform the fools into intellectuals and the cowards within an instant turn to great warriors. Grah do dag nahe chale pad so. That the people who within their own homes don't even walk 2 feet or 2 steps. Tin ko gir kotan kot langai. That such is the power of God that he can make them walk. Gir meaning mountains, kotan kot langai, that they could walk millions and millions of steps, or millions and millions of steps on mountains, even those people who could not even walk 2 steps in their home. The 2 meanings that we could take is, one, somebody being so powerful that they wouldn't even, like a king, they wouldn't even have to go from here to over there to fetch something, or somebody who was physically incapable, and God can make both of them walk as much as needed. Pav mahe agad gati tin ki, sab har pare gat koi na paye. That within this world so unfathomable is Paramatma, and the game of karma that he's created, that is so unfathomable that many people have been defeated. Still, no one has been able to comprehend him or his game. I believe we'll stop here today. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.